Shavuot, Pentecost, the Feast of Weeks. 50 days later from Passover, from the first fruits, comes the Feast of Weeks. This is celebrated, and for 1,200 years prior, it was celebrated in Jerusalem. Everybody gathered there, and it just so happened that the disciples were in an upper room, which, by the way, we know exactly which upper room it was. We know exactly where it's at. It's been found in Jerusalem. It was above, it was in the royal household of David, because Yeshua was in the line of David. He was a rabbi in the line of David. And it was in that upper room. We know where it was at. I sat on the same stairs. It's called a triclinium, where they sat, and I've taught on that once before. The Feast of Shavuot, they're all in Jerusalem. They're all celebrating it. And 1,200 years earlier, the commandments of God were given in that time period when they come out of Egypt. They go through the Exodus. They come across the Red Sea. The Torah is given on Mount Sinai during this time period. What happens? Moses is at the base of the mountain. Yahweh starts speaking out. 1, 2, 3, 4, all the commandments. And what number did they stop him at? 10. They stopped him. God did not say, he did not start off and say, I'm going to give you the 10 commandments. It didn't happen like that. He starts speaking the commandments, and they stopped him after 10 and said, we can't take this anymore. You go up, Moses. You hear the rest of it. So Moses goes up the mountain and gets the rest of it for them. That, listen, what I'm about to say, that decision cost them the priesthood. That moment cost them that intimate walk with God, because there was never supposed to be a mediator. Never. Yahweh purposely had Moses down at the bottom of the mountain because Moses was to be just like everybody else. He had chosen them to be what? A royal priesthood, a holy, set-apart nation. There was never supposed to be different individual tribes, Levites doing this, priesthood doing this. Everybody was to be a priest. Remember, it was the angel of the Lord. It was God himself that was supposed to be the intermediator. That was supposed to be the connector. He was supposed to be the high priest. The Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, was going to be given in that moment. They refused it. And they chose to back down from what God's best was out of fear. We're going to talk a little bit about the trumpet and how it invokes fear as well as that warrior mentality of excitement. At that moment, 1,200 years ago, just the truth was given. Interestingly enough, 1,200 years, almost to the day, what comes? Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit comes. Fills every single person in that room. And what was over the top of them? Huh?
Tongues of fire.
Tongues of fire. How's that for a tongue? All right? You know what's fascinating about this? I drew it exactly the way a tongue looks. But I also drew something that some of you may not realize what this is.
Sheen.
This is the letter Sheen in Hebrew. What was over the top of them, what appeared to be tongues of fire, was not a tongue at all. We say tongue, but the reality is it was a letter Sheen. A letter Sheen in Hebrew is incredible letter. It's the second to the last letter in Hebrew. And it is the letter that you find on a mezuzah. And what does it mean? Shaddai. This is the seal of God. If you would put God's name into one letter, this is it. It's El Shaddai, the all-consuming fire of God.